Hey folks, it's Magro. Welcome back to the channel. I want to address the 10,000 pound elephant that is these goggles, the Goggles 3 when used with the O3 Air unit. In my last video, I mentioned how I really enjoyed these goggles. They were very comfortable and an all-around better experience than the Goggles 2 I currently run. However, there have been numerous reports of signal issues and random disconnects when these goggles are used with the O3 Air unit, and that's never a good sign with a brand new product like this. But as we know, those that have issues with the product are typically more vocal than those that don't. I'm not suggesting that this issue doesn't exist. I've seen several videos that actually show this issue in action. So definitely there is something going on, but I want to look at my experience with these goggles over the last 30 or so flights and walk you through what I have personally experienced. My recommendation is no different than others out there. I do not recommend flying the Goggles 3 with the O3 Air unit if you're flying in any situation that poses a danger to either your quad or that poses a danger to those around you. I fly in open fields, no one around me, so I'm comfortable to continue flying the O3 with the Goggles 3. You take your own kind of personal risk assessment. Before we look at my experience, I do want to express my disappointment in how DJI has been addressing this issue. They have not substantiated the issue nor acknowledged the existence of the issue on the DJI forums to date. They continue to make very generic responses such as check your antennas, make sure you have the latest firmware, things that at this point are not very helpful given how widespread this issue seems to have become. My flight experience has been on 3 different quads in many different flying locations. This is the first quad I flew. This is the next quad I flew. And here's the final quad. This quad has a different antenna on it as well. Hey folks, it's Magro from the future. I do see a newly released firmware that came out for the Goggles 3. All the footage you're about to see and all of my experience is based off of the original firmware, not the new firmware that just dropped a couple days ago. Right now you're looking at the footage from the Goggles 3 onboard recording. Keep an eye on the megabits in the bottom corner there. And I'm actually standing on the other side of the school right now. And I want to test and see what happens when the megabits actually drops down and then recovers. Because all the videos I saw, that seems to be the prime time where the actual Goggles 3 will disconnect from the O3 Air unit. And as you can see, I have no problems. I'm down to 13 megabits, a couple of stutters here and there, but it seems to be recovering just fine. We're back up to 23, 25, 27 megabits. I did not experience any kind of disconnects in this kind of situation. We are getting some link quality warnings, but that link quality is because of my Express LRS. And here you can see roughly where I am standing. I'm out there right in the distance. And just to make sure this wasn't a one-time situation, I went back to exactly the same location. I went out even a bit further. Again, my test here is I want the megabits to drop down and then recover. That just seems to be based off of the other videos where the Goggles 3 will disconnect. And again, no problems here. I'm down to 15 megabits, 11 single digits, we're down to 9. And then over here, we're actually down to 5. Actually, we went down to 4. But again, no problems. It goes down, it seems to recover. We do get a couple of stutters, more stutters in the Goggles 3 than we get in the Goggles 2. And then one final test I do here, I actually go and run the entire perimeter of this park. I just want to again have the megabits drop down a little bit and then recover just to make sure that it doesn't have an issue at that point. So we're down to the high mid 40s. Again, a little bit of a stutter when we went down to 30s, but no disconnects. And as the megabits recover, we don't have a loss of signal again. So everything seems to be working again, although more stutters than I'm used to in the Goggles 2. What I do find is a bit weird though is I get some momentary, very scary stutters. So this was my first flight out. Yes, it starts to rain a little bit. I probably shouldn't be flying, but watch what happens when I go over this tree. I'm at 50 and then big stutter. We're down to 29. At this point, I actually thought perhaps it disconnected, but it did not. The other weird thing I find is when I take off, sometimes the megabits do not go to 50 right away. You can see it took a little bit of time, maybe 5 seconds, 10 seconds before we went up to 50. This is something that's happened now a couple times as well on another flight. Otherwise, I get the usual blips here and there, which I've been getting all along with the Goggles 2 and Goggles 3.